it's so exciting to see so many of you attending this event. So as Christina said, my name is Julia Edmaier. I'm Fair Trade Programs Manager for Dr. Bronner's Special Operations team. I'm located in Tschechien, Germany, which is close to Munich, and I'm living there with my partner and 4 kids between the age of 4 and 18. So my academic background is in anthropogeography. And as Christina said, my professional background is in fair trade certification. So welcome to this first presentation of a series of sessions all around the work of Dr. Bronner's Special Operations team. So Special Ops is supporting all of our supplier projects on the ground. And our main activity is actually to produce organic and fair trade raw materials for Dr. Bronner's and other companies. Actually, we are basically running some of these companies together with our teams on the ground. And for that, we have various experts in our team, ranging from agriculture to finance, technical engineering, certification, fair trade. And we are all regularly visiting our projects on the ground if we are not in a global pandemic. So one of our main tasks actually has always been social community projects in our partner countries, and we really want to be part of social change through our businesses. And I think we are quite effective in that. And the combination that we do, like combining agriculture, business activities, and social impact, is really pretty unique. And I think there can be so many stories to be told of our work. And there is quite a lot of mystery around this special operations team. And that is why we thought that we would like to share more of our work with our colleagues at headquarters and also all around. I really want to take you to our project countries, and I will show you a lot of pictures, but you will realize that many of them are maybe not of the highest quality. And the reason for this is that when we are on the ground, we really usually totally focus on our work, and we tend to forget to document what we are doing, and we tend to forget taking pictures, but we know that it's really important, and we promise to get better at that. So today I want to take you to our organic regenerative fair trade mint oil supplier, Pavitramenthe. They are located in Bareilly, Uttar Pradesh in India, and I'm sure that maybe all of you have seen many devastating pictures from India in the media over the last weeks. And while I really do not want to take away the focus from the disaster that is happening in India right now, the reality is that this COVID crisis is actually coming on top for the families and people in India, and they are still struggling with all the other challenges that they had before COVID. And that is why I think it's really still important to talk about these topics and raise awareness on them. And of course, we at Special Ops are doing all kinds of COVID relief projects all around the world with our partner projects. And if you're interested to learn more about that work, you have to stay tuned for the next session within this format, where we will talk about that, about all the COVID relief work that we have done for the last 1.5 years. But today the topic is menstrual hygiene in India, and this is kind of what my agenda looks like. So first of all, I will talk about the problem. What's the problem in India with menstrual hygiene? What's this big taboo all about? And I will talk about our way to tackle the situation and to try to find a solution. And we have many lessons that we learned along the way, and I will share them with you. And in the end, I will also tell you where the project stands right now and how we try to raise awareness for this overall important topic. And as Christina said, there will be a Q&A session at the end of this presentation, and you are free to ask anything. So what's the problem? When I joined Dr. Bronner's in 2014, I was actually the first woman on Garrow's team. And one of my first tasks was to engage with the women and children in the mint oil farming communities in India to find out what their challenges and needs were. The project in India was already Fair for Life certified for several years, and there was a fair trade fund in place. This is actually intended to fund social community projects. And the problem was that the members of the fund committee who decide on the use of the money were actually almost exclusively men, and they tended not to bring up proposals for projects that would benefit their wives and children. So this is why I went to the villages and I sat down with the women and the kids, and I just listened to their problems and concerns and challenges. And I can tell you there are many of them. But one thing that always came up during all these meetings was the topic of female health and menstrual hygiene. And another one was the opportunity for these women to earn their own money. But first of all, let's talk about menstruation and what the problem is in India. So actually, people who menstruate are still excluded from the Indian society. So they are not allowed to enter a temple or a kitchen. They are considered unspeakable and untouchable. And young people actually have a hard time to learn about the topic of menstruation because everyone is so ashamed to talk about that, and they are kept kind of in the dark until they start menstruating. On the other hand, women in these rural villages in India are really very poor, and they actually don't have the money and the access to menstrual hygiene products. And this actually leads to the fact that people who menstruate are using materials like old rags or cloth, newspapers, ash or sand, or even cow dung to actually absorb their bleedings. And you can imagine that this is quite a big issue regarding health. And that's also the fact why many girls and women in India are suffering from infections. And these can also lead to more severe problems like infertility in the end. Another problem is that the materials that these women and girls use are actually not very absorbent. So this is why they would tend to stand in their house or at least around the house during the menstruation. And this means also that many Indian school girls actually don't go to school during their menstruation. And in fact, 20% of Indian girls are dropping out of school after reaching puberty. So we were taking this feedback from the women very seriously, and we were thinking about a solution. And at this time, there was a story that became popular, and this story was about Arunachalam Murugantam, and he is also known as the Indian Padman. That's what they call him. So this man actually witnessed the challenges that his wife had during her monthly menstruation, and he noticed that she could actually not afford to buy sanitary pads to use them to manage her menstruation. So he thought, well, there must be a way to produce these products more low cost. So he actually, in many various self-experiments, tried to find out what a good sanitary pad would actually look like. And in the end, he designed a very simple machine that could produce low-cost disposable sanitary pads. And this machine is actually available on the Indian market. And there are many women groups in India that are working with this machine, and they are producing their own disposable pads. So we thought, wow, this looks like the perfect solution for us. We could tackle two problems at the same time. We could produce pads and give women access to this product, and we could give women the opportunity to run their own business and earn their own money. So with that perfect plan in our pocket, we went to India. And during this special trip, I was accompanied by two great ladies, by Bronner and by Dana Gaffner from Farewell Project. And we had several very intense meetings with a group of women from our farmer communities. We shared our ideas with them and discussed all different aspects. And in the end, it turned out that maybe our perfect plan was not so perfect in the end in this local setting. It did sound perfect at our desk in Germany and the US, but in the local setting, it was not that perfect anymore. There were many lessons that we've learned. And one of them was actually that even if these pads that would have been produced with the machine were very low cost, they were still too expensive for our farmer families. You have to imagine that there are maybe around 4 girls and women, at least in a farmer family, that would need to use the product every month. And this would just be not possible or not affordable for our farmer families. And that in the end would also mean that there is no reliable customer base for like a women cooperative that would produce these pads. Another topic that came up was that the women that we spoke to told us that it would just not be possible for them to leave their house every day and go somewhere to work. So they have their household chores and they have to be at home when the kids come home from school. And they also said that even transportation would be an issue for them. So they were rather looking for work that they could do at their homes and whenever they are free to do that. A very important aspect was also that the women we were talking to were just not prepared to take the risk of an own business. They were interested in access to the product and they were interested to earn money, but they were just not interested to take the responsibility of an own business. And the major concern in the end was actually disposal. So to introduce a disposable project in a setting where there is no systematic waste management system is actually a disaster. And I totally realized that again when I visited one of our villages and I saw all the waste scattered around or heaping up, and you see cows wandering around chewing on all kinds of stuff. And we knew that, okay, this is just not sustainable. We can't do that. That just doesn't work. And actually, we even had the option to buy a machine that would produce biodegradable sanitary pads. But when we asked the women that we were talking to, so what would you do with these pads after use? They told us, yeah, you know, we will put them into a little plastic bag and bury it. So not that biodegradable anymore in the end. And of course, these products are biodegradable, but only under very professional conditions. And this is just not the case in our village setting. And just to give you a perspective, so the waste load is actually not insignificant. If you look at India as a whole, there are around 350 million people who menstruate, and around 36% of them are using sanitary pads. So this means that 126 million people are using pads. If you multiply that with 8 pads used per cycle, you end up with 1 billion pads per month, or 12 billion pads per year. And all of them take hundreds of years to decompose. So if you look at where the pads are going, actually the majority of them is buried. The other pads are either thrown in the routine waste, which is also a problem in India because there are official waste pickers who really sort every single piece that is thrown in a waste bin. And you can imagine that a product like a sanitary pad that is containing body fluids actually poses a great risk to them. Other pads are just thrown in the open or burned, and this is also not the most environmentally friendly way to dispose a product of. So with all these lessons learned and facts that we gathered on the ground, I actually got back to my team and presented this to them, and we had a discussion about the ways forward and about possible options. So there were several ideas that we could follow. One of them was to work with improved disposal. So we were looking into these kind of clay incinerators that could burn the pads without harmful smokes. But this option actually, it would even have created local jobs because these incinerators could have been produced locally. But in the end, it would not have tackled the problem that the pads are just too expensive for our farmers. Another idea was to support our women to produce their own pads made from cotton fabric. And this would have been possible because Pavitramenthe actually trained many of the women in the villages how to sew, and they also have access to sewing machines. But the quality of this product would just not have been suitable because the fabric is just not absorbent enough, for example, for a girl to go to school. And also the fabric dries very slowly, which also is a problem for the growth of bacteria on the fabric. So this was also not the solution for us. The third option was to find a readily available professional reusable product on the Indian market that we could just distribute to our women and girls. And of course, this option would not tackle the business opportunity angle of the project, but it would at least cover the health aspect. And at that point, we decided that we wanted to really focus on the health aspect and the accessibility of the product first, and then maybe take care of the business opportunity angle of the project as a second step. So while I was researching about options that were available in the Indian market, there are so many products available in Europe or in the US that you can use, like these great menstrual cups, but these are just not suitable for India. They are not appropriate culturally. People in India would rather not use a product that has to be inserted in the body. It's just not culturally accepted. And maybe under the hygienic conditions there, it's also not the best idea to do that. So it was pretty clear that we were looking for a sanitary pad, a reusable one. And during my research, I came across Achai Industrial Corporations, and this company actually produces a product that is called the Relief Pad. So this is how it looks like. And there is a package of relief pads. It contains 4 washable menstrual pads and a pouch where you can put a used pad in to store it and transport it if you have to change your pad while you're outside of your house. And this product has several very important characteristics. So it's made of a very high quality fabric that is very absorbent, very fast drying, and that has an antimicrobial layer on top that actually prevents the growth of bacteria and infections. And the fact that it's very fast drying is, for example, a very important one in our setting, because we need a product that can be used under the radar. Menstruation is such a big taboo that no one would actually hang their used sanitary pad in front of the house to dry, but they have to dry it inside their homes. And this is actually what is possible with the relief pad. So I thought, wow, this actually ticks all the boxes. It's even produced in India and we can purchase it locally. So that's great. And I got back to my colleague in India and told her that I found this great product and that she should have a look. And I was waiting for her feedback, and then I got an email from her. And she actually said, "Dear Julia, thank you for your email and for your efforts. And it's really important that we find a solution that reduces the carbon footprint and keeps the environment clean." But she has discussed the option to use the relief pad with some ladies, and they actually have some concerns. So the first one was that no one wants to wash the dirty pads. They also felt that to change and store a pad outside of the house would actually be a challenge. Overall, many of the women said that they would want to use disposable pads and not reusable pads. They also had concerns regarding the quality of the product, that it could leave stains on their clothes. And they said that they also think it's difficult to dry the pad, especially in the winter season. So overall, they said, this is not a suitable option for us to go with, and they would really like to go with a disposable option. So yeah, I mean, as I explained, disposable option was actually no option for us anymore because it's just not sustainable and we didn't want to go for that. So I got back to my colleague and I told her, listen, I hear all your concerns and I understand your points, but don't you think that this product could be actually fulfill all requirements, and that I would be really happy if we would find a small group of women that would be willing to test the product for us, because only then they would see how it works. And if it doesn't work for them, no problem, we will not pursue this any further, but maybe it works. And luckily my colleague in India is really very open-minded and constructive. And then she said, "Hi, Julia. Yeah, thanks for your suggestions, and I understand your thoughts. And you're right, only if we use the product, we can better understand it." And so they decided to do a trial with around 50 women for them to test the product and give feedback to us. So yay, this was actually a first success. And I was really looking forward to the trial, and we even designed a very basic baseline survey for that we did with the women before we handed out the product, because we wanted to be able to track changes in the quality of the lives of the women by introducing this product to them. So this is the pilot group of women that were handed out the first 50 sets of pads. So during our next visit to Borelli, Rob, Gero, and I actually stopped at Achai Industries, the company that produces the relief pad. And we just wanted to see where the product is produced and who we are working with. And this was a very interesting visit. When we arrived, we saw all kinds of products on the facilities. We saw pipes and buckets and chairs and beds and all kinds of stuff. And it turned out that Achai Industries actually produces all kinds of products that are needed and used in disaster relief camps all around the world. So their clients are big aid organizations like the Red Cross or USAID, and they are selling these products to them, and the relief pad is one product in their product line. And Achai Industries is a family run and owned business, and until then they actually didn't sell any relief pad into the Indian market. But there was a time when the founder's wife actually told her husband, you know, menstrual hygiene and management is such a big challenge and issue in India. I think we should also make this product available for the Indian market. They knew that this would be difficult because of all the stigma and taboo around menstruation in India. So they combined their market access in India with an education program, and they hired a lady. Her name is Komal. She's the one in the middle. And Komal has a background in health, but she's also a yoga teacher. And her job was to travel all over India to educate people around female hygiene, female health and menstrual hygiene. And she did yoga sessions at the same time and introduced people to the relief pad and explained to them how it can be used. Actually, the fact that Achai is selling to all those big international aid organizations is also a has a benefit because all of their production is certified according to acknowledged international social standards, and that was also an important point for us because, of course, we didn't want to buy products to distribute that would be produced by Indian children, for example. So I think the company is a great fit, and we were really happy meeting them. And then I went to Borelli, and of course I wanted to meet the 50 women that were willing to try the product for us. And the feedback when asking them if they were happy with the product and if they would be willing to further use it or continue using it, the feedback was overwhelming. So they all raised their hands. And I didn't expect that positive feedback. And why I really knew that they really liked the product is they were even willing to financially contribute to this product. And one thing is, if you give out products for free, of course, everyone or many people will take it. But if they are willing to pay for something, you can be sure that there is a value for them in that product. So that was great feedback. And with that feedback, we actually were really excited to roll out a big campaign and distribute thousands of relief pads to our farmer communities. And that's what we did. As a first step, we ordered 1,000 pads with Achai, and these were financed by Pavitramenthe's Fair Trade Fund, and we distributed them. So we distributed in schools, but also in our farming communities. And you can see that distribution always goes hand in hand with education. So Komal, she is also visiting our projects or our communities, and she is training the girls and the women and all students, for example, about female health and about the specifics of the product and how to use them. So that is her work. And actually, we wanted to distribute 6,000 more pads in 2020, but then the COVID crisis hit, and we were slowed down really by COVID, because in India there were several lockdowns, and during the lockdowns, we were not able to do any group trainings or group gatherings. And that is why we only managed to distribute like around 360 pads in 2020. And this was managed via video training. But we actually already have 6,000 mer pads to be distributed, and we will do that as soon as it's possible again. And we are really excited about that. So additionally to the work on the ground and the rollout of the campaign in India, we also wanted to raise awareness around this important topic. And as you all know now, today is Menstrual Hygiene Day. And for this special day, we actually joined forces with an UK and Indian-based organization called Sanitation First. Sanitation First is building eco toilets, compostable toilets all around India for years. And they realized that toilets and menstruation go very much hand in hand. And that is why they developed their own Periods First program. And they are in this program, they are working with local schools. They are designing suitable toilet blocks. They are educating students around menstrual hygiene and female health. And they are also distributing reusable sanitary pads. And for today, Sanitation First created a social media campaign called the Code Red, and they created a little filter that can be used on Instagram. And if you're interested how that looks like on our Instagram site, please feel free and visit it. And it would be also great if you could share it if you're interested. Yeah, so I could talk about this project for hours, but this time here is limited, and I think I just wanted to give you an overview. But if you're interested to learn more about this topic and dive deeper into it, I can recommend you to watch, for example, the movie of the Padman. So this is the real story of this Indian man who invented the low-cost sanitary pad machine, and it's a very sweet Bollywood style movie, and I enjoyed watching it very much. And then there's two very nice documentaries. One is called Pandora's Box, and one is called Period, End of Sentence. And both of them are very worthwhile watching. So, and then if you're interested to learn more about ReliefPad, you can always visit their website, reliefpad.net. They also have, for example, a very nice little video on their website that explains the background about the stigma in India a bit more. And they also have many Q&As and facts on their website. And for those of them who might have missed it, there is also this blog article on the Dr. Bronner's blog that I wrote about that topic.